Welcome, FCS professionals, supporters, and friends. My name is Karen Athanas, and I'm your host for this episode of Think FCS. Think FCS is the channel where we talk about all things family and consumer sciences with updates from experts, recent news, research from the field, and more. Check in each month to learn something new, and please remember to click the like and share buttons. Think FCS is brought to you by the American Association of Family and Consumer Sciences, the association dedicated to supporting individuals, families, and communities through the education and support of FCS professionals. What is FCS? Family Consumer Sciences is the people-centered science focused on the study of individuals, families, and communities with the aim of assisting them to live healthy and successful lives through the provision of education, research, and technology. FCS has had a range of names over the years, including family studies, human sciences, human ecology, health and human sciences, human economics, and more. You can learn more about those different terms and how they're interwoven into family and consumer sciences on the AAFCS.org website. Click the About tab and then select About FCS to find a range of resources and publications for your use. Oh, this month from December 1st through December 5th, we are celebrating FCS Week, Family and Consumer Sciences. Every day this week, we are celebrating different themes. We have a t-shirt contest if you haven't seen it, and really engaging the community to learn more about family and consumer sciences. And who better to do that than the AAFCS Advocacy Cohort? It's a group of FCS professionals representing their state affiliates as they reach out to stakeholders, policymakers, and champions to educate and inform on FCS and the important issues affecting communities. This is part 2 of my interview with our advocacy group. So if you haven't listened to the November podcast, I highly recommend it. In this podcast, we dive deep into the different themes of FCS Week and what they mean to our FCS professionals, and we finish with a few final words of wisdom. Joining me on the call will be Lois Lewis, Cherry Kramer, Kathy Inyard, Patricia DeJoya Laird, Janine Pope, and Jenny Vincenti. And a big thanks to the advocacy members who joined for the call to listen in and support their colleagues. But before we get started, let me walk you through a few updates from the AAFCS. Each year, AAFCS gives out thousands of dollars in awards, grants, and scholarships to FCS professionals to fund their education, research, projects, and programs. Each benefits individuals, families, and communities and helps to address societal issues such as homelessness, food scarcity, consumer safety, financial scams, and so much more. It's your support that makes all this possible. Many of our professionals work in education and lack the funding to pay for the important programs and projects that they organize each year. If you think about all these classes that are taught in middle and high school, even elementary school, if they're teaching food nutrition, they need to purchase materials like foods to help educate their students. If they want them to learn how to read food labels, they need to purchase products that have labels on them. If they want to teach them knife skills or cooking skills, they need the kitchens in the schools to be able to do that. And there's so many different program areas that Family Consumer Sciences covers. It covers textile and design, hospitality and tourism, early childhood education, and more. And each of these has its unique needs. Other individuals working in FCS disciplines. So say you go on to pursue a degree in textile and design, you're working in the design world, and you want to go back to into education and start teaching the next generation of future textile experts. They need support to go back to college and get their teaching degrees, or even some support from the AAFCS. And finally, FCS is a research-based discipline which seeks advancements in science to improve the lives of individuals, families, and communities. That research needs your support so that we can impact communities tenfold. Please consider donating to the AAFCS today and helping us grow strong communities, build valuable relationships, and enhance student and adult education. And now for part 2 of our series on FCS Week. So on the second day of FCS Week, we celebrate the art of fashion and interior design, textile creativity, and self-expression. For our viewers who might be unfamiliar with FCS, what does textile science mean to our discipline? Lois, you cover it.
Well, I love textiles, and I think that it's always great to know where your stuff comes from, whether it's food or fiber. It's nice to know where it comes from, and that kind of informs you on how to care for things, what your options are, what kind of textures are out there, what kind of uh, colors are available by dyeing something or treating it in a certain way. I just think it's immensely interesting. And I believe that it also relates to resource management because if you make good choices, then you'll know how to care for things or you will not ruin things as easily, perhaps. And you'll find things that meet your wants and needs a little better if you know more about them. So that's what I think about it.
Wonderful. And this one is close to my heart because I love textiles. So I have my yarn right here. Learning about textiles is important. And I come from the testing world. So we learn all kinds of things about the different types of fibers and how they tear and what they're good for. Is it wool? Is it cotton? What's natural? What's like a polyester or synthetic? So it is a very cool world to live in. So, Cherry, what are your thoughts when you think about textile creativity and interior design? How does that relate to FCS and what does it bring to mind for you?
It reminds me of um, back when I started teaching, how we were taught to have let the kids experiment with fabrics, and take a fabric and pour um, acetone nail polish on it and watch it melt. That I just that was fun for me to watch that kind of thing, and the impact that that can have on the clothing that you wear, so that if you're wearing something and something like that happens, like I can remember my graduation gown in high school, it was like practically plastic. You went to iron it, and if you didn't iron it right, you ruined it, right? So knowing those kinds of things about fabrics are important. And then when you talk about creativity, my mom has maybe been a mentor to me in that field because she takes all kinds of things from pop bottles to make them into jewelry to reducing and recycling and reusing fabrics. She does all kinds of things like that. But then there's a member in our own organization. Can I say her name, Lois? Melissa Finley Lampkin. She's our treasurer for our organization, but she works for a bridal shop, a mother of the bride clothing store, high end, and she so loves textiles that she has gone back to school and she's taking like pattern design and draping classes, and it's just fun listening to her projects that she's coming up with. And boy, let me tell you, in the wedding gown and the mother of the bride fabrics, if your fabric doesn't drape right, it doesn't look good on you. So there is another piece where you don't think about how the fabric that you buy makes a difference in how it looks on you when you wear it. And anyway, there's one other thing that I thought of about that. Oh, I know what it was. When we're talking about like AI and how things have changed,
Oh, hmm.
um, a lot of our fabric stores in Minnesota are going broke. They're closing, and we're down to fewer and fewer choices of fabrics, and you can buy online. Well, the disappointing thing about buying online is you don't get to touch it. You don't get to see how it drapes. You don't get to see how it feels. So there's a future in our field, I think, for if how are we going to buy fabric online? And will we need to buy it online?
Hmm. Yeah, I like to touch my fabric before I buy it too. I want to feel how soft it is. I want to pull it and see how stretchy it is. It's
Yeah.
so hard to buy that kind of thing online without being able to touch it. Kathy, what are your thoughts?
I think when I first read this question, it was thinking about how um, it affects all parts of our lives and every industry, every subject matter, from within family consumer science, the kitchen and the towels, it's not just the clothes, but the fibers, how safe they are. So even for our electricians and some of those that are working with hazardous chemicals, that fiber that their gloves or their jackets or shirts are made out of, even in the agriculture and farming, how what are the safe factors that go into it. So there's just a lot of areas that textile science fits into, that we can find it in almost every area. And when I did a day camp with 4-H this summer, and we were actually sewing some projects, we talked about how it fit under STEM, and they were able to point out, what was science, what was technology, what was engineering, so they all, they got it, and they came up with their answers and some things that I hadn't even thought of. So I think it's just a cool area that could go a lot of directions.
Absolutely. And we didn't even mention smart fabrics yet and smart textiles, but they are out there. And I think FCS people are leading the research and developing those because a lot of our focus is on functional and performance-based textiles. So it's really exciting for us to see that emerge. Patricia, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts about fashion and textiles and interior design, but I would just like to add to this conversation that we would not have been able to get to the moon if there wasn't a family consumer science teacher behind constructing the suits that would keep them protected. So clothing is protection, but in my world, clothing is beauty and art and um, comfort. I mean, there's so much that our our self-confidence by what we put on in the morning and how we feel about ourselves, or the fabric that we touch during the day that gives us a personal sense of comfort, and the color that we wear, our mood, and so much that surrounds textiles. Our world would be so hard and uncomfortable if there wasn't the opportunity to have beautiful textiles in our environment. So it gives us a sense of well-being. And I also like to say that we are leading the world in the use of existing textiles and getting them repurposing them into something that is useful and not and letting them end in landfills. I remember flying on a plane and my uh, I can't think of the name of our magazine. What's our magazine name is just that we had, for AAFCS. What was the name of
Oh,
Journal of FCS.
that? There you go. I was reading my journal, the journal, that was it. And they were the first ones to alert me that only 1% of our textiles were recycled. And that was way back in the 90s, and I quickly started adding that to my classroom. So I think we lead the world in the use of textiles and the reuse of textiles at the same time and redesigning them.
I think that's so exciting as well. And with the growth of fast fashion, so much fashion ends up in landfills where we want to refresh our wardrobe when, well, maybe we should be focusing on those signature pieces we keep for life. Uh, but I love where this conversation is going. I'm going to throw it to Janine. What are your thoughts?
Okay, gosh, just listening to everybody, and this was probably my favorite area to teach. So it's just so interesting, everybody's ideas towards this specific area. But for me personally, it was sharing or opening awareness of just how fabrics, I think it goes back to what Lois was saying to a certain degree about where our food comes from, where our fabric comes from, because a lot of times people are not as aware of that. And so, how do we get our silk from silkworms and wool, and how is fabric woven and made, and our clothes are made by fabric pieces. Some people don't always have that awareness. So that was important to me to bring that out. And it was interesting. I had two round tables in my classroom, and so at one point there were sewing machines. Then we moved them out and we put in desktop computers, and then the students all got Chromebooks. And so out went the desktop computers, and I put those sewing machines back into the those original the tables. And then I'd have guest speakers, and they were always so interested in sewing machines and that I was back to teaching sewing. And students love to learn to sew. And so it just really made it fun, their creativity. But then back to what some of you were just talking about, I believe it's CSU that does a Make and Mend Day. And so college students come bring in their clothing items, and students within the that department of merchandising, design and merchandising, have a day where they help students mend their clothes or make or whatever, just in an effort to try to recycle and encourage the longevity of that item. And so I think it's good. We've kind of come back around to that, to where hopefully people are picking up how to sew and how to mend, and um, just better overall for the environment if we can help people with those
Mhm.
skills. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. I want to keep my favorite outfit forever, so I will definitely be mending instead of tossing. Jenny, what are your thoughts?
Well, I like a lot of the ideas that people have shared. And, well, you could say I'm boring or I don't have, I'm not a fashionista because I always wanted to buy sort of classic styles rather than fast fashion, which is so wasteful. And so, my gosh, I have some things that are decades old, but I still wear them and I'm not ashamed to wear them. And I think that um, that's another area of helping our learners or new professionals to not be intimidated by the latest and and also to not attach your identity to having the latest style, or color or whatever, but to kind of focus on something bigger than that, because we can really waste a lot of resources and um, including money, but also ecological impact. So I like the problem solving that comes with textiles. When you create something, you imagine what it is, and or you solve a problem, um, which is true of other areas of our field. But
Mhm.
so
Yeah, and it's great opportunity to be creative. So maybe have a signature color, but don't follow the trends. And remember that they always come back. So just stick it in a closet and save it for 10 years. It will be back. Those bell bottoms are back.
well, and you have to realize that some change that's introduced is so somebody else can make profit.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily an our own benefit.
Well, as you know, I host the monthly podcast, so I think our viewers will figure out that I own like 10 outfits. Just keep watching. You'll be like, oh, there's her favorite sweater again. All right, so we're on to day 3 of FCS week, which is December 3rd, and it is all about wellness. The term wellness has taken on a life of its own through social media these days. Everybody's into wellness. There's wellness gurus, podcasters, influencers. You got it. We've got everything. So, as an FCS expert, what does wellness mean for family consumer sciences? Because I feel like we were the OG when it came to wellness. We've been at this for a long time. Lois, what are your thoughts?
Well, to me, it's kind of a broad view of taking care of yourself. And it can encompass a number of things. I think it can relate to making healthy choices, whether it's with food or other kinds of things that you might be using or buying. I think it has to do with exercising and moving around and making sure that you are doing something active. I think it has to do with mental health. I think it has to do with what type of health care you're seeking out. I think it's kind of an overarching topic that helps us to think about, ways to be kind to ourselves, ways to get more information if we need that to make a better decision. Um, and it gives us hope, I guess, that we can live a better life if we take care of ourselves.
I like it. Live a better life. That's how we want to end it, is wellness. Better. What are your thoughts, Cherry?
I think that every area of family and consumer sciences impacts every area of wellness.
Yeah.
um, you know, from food nutrition, like Lois said, and exercise. And the only thing that I would add to it is wellness as we age. Again, I mentioned it before, but the moving, the financial piece of it, because if we don't have the correct finances or the correct insurance, we can't access the things that we need to be well. And so, there's just so many pieces of that family consumer sciences touches. So too many to list. I'll let other people list ones that are important to them.
Well, a huge goal of family consumer science is to make individuals successful in their lives. So I think that that's a broad statement, Jerry, that yes, everything that we do leads to individual and family wellness. So, Kathy, what would you add to this?
Well, I'm not sure I have much to add. It's just kind of like they said, it's kind of the core. It's the um, maybe I don't know, it's a lifelong process of learning, and it affects us throughout our lifetime in different ways, developing not only the knowledge that affects whatever kind of wellness we're working on, but the skills to go with it, and then actually putting things into practice. So it's a balance of all of that. But wellness is just a part of our everyday life that we need to look at and practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we talk a lot about education on topics like wellness, but we did mention the Journal of Family Consumer Sciences earlier. We also have the Family Consumer Sciences Research Journal. Both of those you're going to find just immense studies and data on what makes people more well, what programs are most effective, what approaches to wellness are going to have the impact that we're looking for. So it is exciting to see FCS people really dig into that to say, hey, is this going to work and who's it going to work on? So jumping over to Patricia, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think most of what I think has been said, but I would just like to say that preventative choices is some of what we work on. We promote preventative by eating right, by and sleeping. The importance of sleeping, getting the rest we need, because all of us on this call are go-getters. So sleep always gets pushed a little bit to the back, and I have to remind myself that sleeping and drinking water and all those things are so important to good health, and sharing that with my students and with the people in my life.
Mhm, mhm. Well, as someone who stays up late and gets up early, I agree with you. And this is my moment during the holidays to catch up on all of that sleep I'm not getting. Janine, what are your thoughts on wellness? What's FCS's role in that space?
Oh gosh, um I think a lot of it is kind of encouraging those good habits, just kind of like what we're talking about. And even I mean, personally, osteoporosis has kind of come to mind in my life, and I have a twin sister, and um I remember thinking I should drink more milk, so, and now that's kind of come back and it's something that I'm having to kind of really think about again, and how can I make up for my lack of getting calcium. So that's just one example. I think sunscreen, I think it is habit forming and trying to help. So now I have a daughter and she's taking calcium. She's 24. I'm encouraging her to wear sunscreen, so I think wellness, that's as far as from a healthy standpoint and from a medical standpoint. But how we can try to encourage people to form those healthy habits from the beginning. And it's a preventive approach as well, when we talk about being preventive. So I think that's just so important. And she's taking calcium. I think sometimes I know when I was her age, I think I didn't really listen to that so much. I knew I didn't like milk, so I didn't drink it. But we can maybe have an influence on helping people form those good habits towards wellness.
Hmm. Yep. And setting that example, letting them watch you drink milk or take calcium supplements is a great example. And then hopefully your kids follow suit and make good choices as well. So we've heard a lot of great ideas so far. Jenny, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was thinking about loneliness
Hmm.
as a problem in our society. And some of that, again, I think is um, helping people uh, learn how to build healthy relationships and to think about themselves in a healthy way where they aren't shy. I mean, I know personalities are different, but aren't shy about reaching out to somebody or connecting or saying hi or, those social skills. And also examining the impact and learning how social media and phones can really, even though you're connecting with people in one way, it still seems to promote loneliness because it's not direct and it's not personal. How do I want to say it? It's not in person. And people, that also means that you are probably being exposed to a narrow selection of people because you can unfriend, you can only, you can kind of be in an echo chamber, which can lead to developing some attitudes and perspectives that can be unhealthy because you're always hearing the same thing. And is it conspiracies? Is it, some negative perspective or criticism of people who aren't in your social media circle? So I think that is another aspect of wellness. And we have really bad problem of suicide, especially among younger people. And so I think, again, take a preventive approach.
Hmm. Yeah, and so many of us live online that it's easy to become lonely. And on this call alone, we have people from all different states, and so I agree with Jenny. We have to pursue diverse opinions and ideas, and soak it in. Make those friends from across the country, whether it's in person or virtual, so that you don't feel lonely, but also you get to hear other perspectives and expand your horizons a little bit. And I think a great way to end this conversation of wellness, but think of all of the great ideas everyone's raised, encouraging good habits, preventive choices, living a better life, healthy choices, exercising. Exercising is important. We didn't really dig into it, but it's important. Mental health, healthcare options, making sure that you know which ones are available to you. Ways to be kind to ourselves. I thought that was a great one we didn't dig into, but we really need to think about ways that we can just be nice to ourselves and forgive ourselves and tell ourselves that we're wonderful the way we are. And then finally, how do we address, those elements of loneliness in a virtual world? How do we find our community. And for those FCS professionals out there, we do have what we call the letter links here at AAFCS. You can sign up and we will assign you a pen pal so that you can make a special fin within the FCS community. So if you're interested in that, you're not sure where the link is, just email us at staff@aafcs.org and we'll help connect you. So our next question is the fourth day of FCS week. It's on Thursday. The WFCS will focus on financial literacy, the art of money. This includes personal finance, budgeting effectively, and making informed purchasing decisions. And we've talked a little bit about that tonight, but for those listening in, what advice would you offer as they begin shopping for the holidays? So, broad statements on personal finance, but also I'm welcoming all of your thoughts and suggestions for all of us as we start to make those important purchasing decisions. Lois?
Okay, well, I think it's always important to create some type of little budget based on what your income is to avoid impulsive shopping by knowing how much you have available, and also making a list of possible gifts for people that you're planning to give to. And looking at options, not just buying the first thing you see, but getting more information before purchasing. Try to stick to your budget. And then I would say, don't just think about yourself and your family. If there's a way that you can reach out and maybe give something through like an angel tree or some other type of, there's a lot of charities out there that are looking for ways to give people gifts at Christmas time. And it's a great way to help meet the needs for other people outside of yourself. I think that's always a good thing. Sometimes we get to kind of be a little bit selfish during the holiday season, but maybe we need to think about what some other people, some needs that people have that are really a lot more crucial than some that we have. So,
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Lois. Cherry, what are your thoughts?
As COVID hit,
Mm.
started buying online. And I think a lot of shopping, at least in the younger ages, are happening nowadays. So my recommendation is that's a great way to shop around and find really good deals. Be really careful that you're buying from legitimate sources, and that they've got good ratings so that you don't get scammed. That would be one of my advice for shopping online for the holidays. Um, and then the other thing, and um, I've been doing the grocery shopping. I'm down in Texas with my daughter, helping babysit my granddaughter this month, and I had so much fun because one of their grocery stores down here, if you buy $125 worth of groceries, you get a free turkey. And my goal is to get the biggest turkey for that, 125 bucks. But then divide my list in half. I know that sounds crazy, but we're feeding, like 30 people, 30 to 40 people. So I divide my list in half and I shop one day and get one turkey, and then I shop the next day and get a next turkey. So my recommendation is to find your deals before you go shopping. Plan your menu, know what you want, and then decide where you can go get the best deal at which store.
Oh my gosh. I wish I was in Texas right now and was taking advantage of that deal because that sounds awesome.
I
Oh,
saw something. I saw something like that in our local stores too.
yeah,
Oh,
I've
yeah.
never seen
Yeah,
them
but
in
New Jersey.
Minnesota, but I have fun buying that free turkey because you used to get them, like my husband used to get them through work. Now we don't get a free turkey anymore. So now I go and buy it instead.
And they are expensive, but I love that you also mentioned the safe purchasing online. So it's really easy to buy a counterfeit online. They're not all safe. If you check the government websites, they'll warn you that online sales, they aren't deeply regulated. If they ship it straight to your door, probably nobody tested it or looked at it. So be really careful that you don't buy an unsafe product, especially electronics. So keep a close eye on that. Thank you so much, Cherry. And I love the tip about the grocery store. I'm just so excited about that. Kathy, what are your suggestions?
Well, I kind of follow along with Lois that, budgeting is good, but um, don't forget that you don't have to purchase gifts. You could make them. Experiences and memories are always going to last longer. And as a grandparent, I think of things I could give to my grandkids and things I could do with them. But I would be okay with them giving me that same thing back as they want to take me to the zoo or they want to, go to the library. They want me to take them to the library. So it could work both ways and just be creative with it, even if it's just a game night at home or a Sunday night hot chocolate and popcorn and movie night. Just looking forward to those kinds of fun memories can go a long ways too.
I love that. I love that. I've had those, the little coupons, one free hug, one dinner out, one trip to the movies. Like you could get very creative with that. So really great idea. What do you think, Patricia?
Well, comparison pricing is always important when you have
Mm,
many choices. And I'm always, looking around for the best deal. And um, I always think that I know online it's easy to sit on your couch and do your, not grocery shopping, your grocery shopping, everything's shopping. But I really think it's important to think about supporting your local businesses
mhm.
because as Amazon gets more wealthy, so many people go out of business. So, and when possible, support your local businesses. Um, I also think it's important to write down not only who you're buying for, but what you've purchased already.
Mm.
Because as you get caught up in the moment of buying, let's say for the holidays, you see something, oh, that's great, and forget that you have bought like three things to that person already. So keep it organized on lists both by who you're buying for and what you've already purchased. Um, and I do agree that experiences are a great way to save money and to have build community among people. So I think that's great. And I also, as a person who is so hands-on and loves to make things, I think you have to be careful that when you decide to make something that it doesn't cost more than buying a gift because you're investing your time and resources and then you find out, well, I could have bought something for this person for like $10 less than what I just spent making it. So it's a trap that I fall into all the time. And then I'm stressed because I'm making all these gifts and I don't have time to do it all. So it's a slippery slope in making presents. But here I am. I'm sitting right here next to, a project that I'm making. So, but I think that, that the idea of comparison price shopping. And I also think that it's important to know your customer, like know who you're buying for, and think about whether that gift really suits them. It's not the amount of money spent, it's have you bought the right gift for the right person with your heart. So that's my thoughts on spending, which
I
I do a
love it.
lot.
I love it. And I'm guilty of every one of those. But what you learn is if somebody, truly is your family and truly cares about you, make them some cookies. They're not going to fuss over what you give them as a gift. It's about, recognizing each other and the relationship you have. So I love that you noted that. Janine, would you like to add on this one? What are your thoughts? When you're shopping, what are you thinking about?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I have anything too different to add, but kind of, I know Mother's Day, a lot of times, my kids will clean out my car or my husband will clean my car for me. And that's just the best gift, for them to wash my car, vacuum it out. So I think along with those, kind of those chores or helping give that type of gift to is something else to think about.
Mhm.
Something,
I
save
yeah.
them from having to do something, some chore that they might not always want to do.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I can tell you I have not cleaned my car in forever. So if somebody wants to come over and vacuum that, that would be awesome. Jenny, what are your thoughts? What are your
Well,
suggestions for holiday
I
shopping?
was kind of tying this. Well, the topic is financial literacy, and
Mhm.
I really am a big recycler. And um, you're going to laugh at this maybe, but I recycle everything from wrapping paper, and I have a drawer down in the basement with all this used wrapping paper, but I can always find a piece that works for something this year. And that's not a big financial savings, but it fits one of my other values, which is reducing waste. And so I'm hoping that my example might spur somebody else to be ecologically responsible as well. So I like a lot of the other ideas of sometimes if we get past the materialism as a way of showing caring, we can have a much broader range of choices. Like, as I think Lois said, instead of giving me a gift, give a charity donation as a gift to me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And Jenny, you might share.
You just muted yourself.
Thank you. You might share what you do with all your recycles too.
Oh,
The
yeah.
recyclables. Yeah.
I've been doing this for years. I save anything that I think could be used in a daycare center for some creative activity. Uh, and it's everything from jar lids of different colors and oh, I save all this stuff and organize it into categories in the garage. And then when the garage gets full, I put it in the back of the car and I drive around to different daycare centers and I open up the back and I say, okay, what do you want? I always get rid of everything.
Mm-hmm.
They always, oh, I want those old like jugs, like you get distilled water or something. Oh, we're going to make an igloo, or just
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of things. Anything, styrofoam, they could cut it up and make something. Um, I even take, you get all this mail, and a lot of it is uh, return address labels,
Mhm.
and they always have pictures of something. So I'm sitting there in the evening listening to the news or whatever, and I cut off the pictures. So I have one category which is all stickers. So a lot of it comes from the junk mail that otherwise would be thrown away.
Mm-hmm.
And they like it, you know. Oh, we could do this, we could do that, we could whatever. Milk jugs and oh, and I'm on a rampage now to find any kind of colored paper clips.
Oh.
And uh, as I dig through my old files, sometimes I find them. But I'm going to take a stash of just metal paper clips to church because I saw in the pastor's office he has a bunch of colored paper clips. And I don't think he cares. I think it's just I want a paper clip. Anyway, so I'm kind of serious about this.
I love this so much. Okay, so Jenny is the Santa Claus for all the daycare centers in Wyoming. Congrats, Jenny. I love it. But also, if anybody has any colored paper clips, she wants them. So just send them her way. I bet the kids are gonna love that. And very creative idea with the return labels with the little pictures, because I get those too. So I love that idea. That'll be fun. Thank you so much.
Here's another idea for like Christmas thing. So like in my community, my husband and I do breakfast every Saturday morning and we raise the money and we can give it to whatever charity we want to. And sometimes, like I've heard of a teacher or someone else that needs some special stuff for maybe celebrating something in their classroom. And you could give that like a gift because you help to work to get.
You mean you host a breakfast for people on Saturday?
It's a community breakfast every Saturday in my community, and we um, pay a little bit of rent. We pay for our groceries, and whatever's left over that goes toward different charities and different organizations that need funds.
Excellent. And a way to address that loneliness question because it brings people together. So I love that. What a great idea. All right, so the last day of FCS week, but let me just say you can celebrate FCS every day of the year if you'd like. I fully encourage it. But for next week, the last day of FCS week on December 5th, AAFCS embraces change and the future as our professionals teach life skills, career exploration, and budgeting. So share with us your experiences educating and supporting individuals as they prepare for their futures. And we've talked about this a lot tonight, but what are your additional unique perspectives on this, Lois?
So obviously, since I'm retired, I don't have as many connections to youth as I probably used to. But there are some students in the area that have gone into food service in one way or another. There's one girl in particular that has started up a bakery. And so she was trying to work out some licensing issues and things like that. And being that I just got on the county extension committee up here, I was able to bring in a speaker for cottage-based businesses, and she was able to get her, I got funding for it, and she was able to get her training to have that class for licensing in Minnesota free. And so that was one benefit for her to be able to take that training without having a lot of money to afford that type of thing. I also have been trying to stay in touch with some of the new teachers in my part of the state, which is the north. And we have a lot of schools that don't necessarily have the FACS program anymore, but we have some that are starting to get some teachers. And I've tried to kind of get in connection with them and ask if they need any kind of support, tell them about what's available in our profession to help support them. And that has been kind of a thing that I feel like maybe nobody else would do in this part of the state. So I kind of took it on myself to try to reach out. And those are just a couple of things I guess I've.
I love it though. We need more people like you, Lois, pulling our educators together, pulling our FCS professionals together. I can't say how many tell me that they're the only one in their county, the only one in their state. So it's on us to pull each other closer together and be that, friendly ear to call and chat with, that email, that pen pal, and so forth. So, Cherry, what are your thoughts?
Um, being retired, as Lois mentioned, I don't have access to the students that I once have. Um, but I remain like I'm on the FCCLA board and I like visiting with the state officers, encouraging them to stay involved. Um, when I was teaching, it was, I taught students with special needs, and you would not believe the number of people go, I can't believe you're letting them handle a chef knife. And it's like, you gotta, if they're gonna learn to cook in food service, they gotta handle a chef knife. You just teach them and they learn, and it's like, um, and if they don't, we'll figure it out. But the self-esteem that grew with students that had not done things like that, or you know um, it's just fun watching that self-esteem and enthusiasm grow when you can teach a student something new. And then the other thing would be is that whenever I can, I continue to encourage people to explore careers whenever I get a chance with a kid. Um, Helping them with their resumes is huge as well because so oftentimes they've never done one. And I used to teach alternative ed kids, so we always taught resumes, but I also taught how to file a simple income tax reform or return. And one day I was driving through a fast food. I know, family consumer sciences. Yes, I still eat fast food. Sorry, but but I was going through the line, and the gal taking my order when I got up to pay, she goes, "You're a teacher, aren't you?" And I said, "Well, yeah." She goes, "At decals, right?" And I said, "I was, yes." She says, "You taught me how to do my taxes, and I still use that." And
Aw.
just hearing of I see some of my kids that I had now working in different jobs, and it just warms my heart because I know that they went on and did something.
Mhm. And I wish someone had taught me how to do my taxes in school. So kudos to you, Cherry. 37 states now require personal finance education as part of graduation. And this is exactly why, because people don't know how to do their taxes, don't know how to budget, don't know what a loan is or interest rates or how credit cards work. And they need to. They need to know those things. So it's a great contribution. And I love that both of you are retired and yet you're hosting breakfasts, you're teaching people food safety, you're pointing people in the right direction for certifications. Like we're still in it, and that's kind of what FCS people do is continue to support the communities they're in. It's just lovely. uh, Kathy, what are your thoughts? In what ways have you educated or even just supported someone as they pursued their career pathway?
When I was in my classroom, two things that I did was that I um, had my older kids volunteer in the elementary school, which we were a small school. We were all on one campus. So they learned a lot of different types of skills that they didn't realize that they were learning by interacting with the younger kids, being role models to them. And we talked about that. I also set up job shadowing experiences for all my students that were juniors and seniors in school. And now in extension, one of the things that I really enjoy is that we are teaching life skills in fun ways. So even like today, we had a bunch of our 4-H kids. We had like 30 of them here, all ages. They were making gingerbread houses, but they were in teams. And so the construction of the gingerbread house was not that important. It was the teamwork, it was safety, sanitation. And then in the end, they had to make a presentation. So they spoke to one of our elders in the community that's a leader, and she volunteers a lot with 4-H. So they're pretty comfortable with her, but they were doing presentation skills and working as a team while doing something fun. And we do that with a lot of other project areas. And those are life skills that stay with you for life and gives you that confidence and, able to tell your story and not be the quiet one sitting down all the time.
Right. Yeah, presenting so important. I know so many people that can't even call to make a doctor's appointment. So being able to communicate with strangers and express yourself, so important. Thank you, Kathy. Patricia, what are your thoughts? Oh, you are muted.
I was having a little coughing spell, so I muted myself. I'm not sure I'm in line with everybody, but we're talking about change.
Mm,
And
mhm.
I thought about when I was presenting to FCCLA state officers about who moved my cheese, about change. Because sometimes teenagers really resist change. Um, they're not comfortable around moving where they think they should be, you know. So I think that gave me an opportunity to think about the value of change. And in change, I think sometimes change, hopefully it solves some problems. That's why the change is there. Um, and I think about during the pandemic when it seemed like teenagers turned within, they turned to themselves. They didn't know how to reach out, communicate. And so I was seeing that happening in FCCLA in New Jersey. So with the help of a state officer who was also concerned about this, we instituted a situation called a new position, a new leadership position that didn't look like anything, any other leadership position we had. We called it a service ambassador. They didn't sit on the executive council, but they were a state office position. They were a bridge between the state officers and their chapter for service. And so yesterday we had our fall conference. And I am so proud to tell you that this change that we made to get kids to be more outward thinking and service oriented resulted in the filling of an entire truck, a huge truck of food for the needy. Because these kids got outside of themselves, they saw a change. They took on a leadership role that was different and wasn't there 3 years ago. And so change can solve some problems if we're open to it. And I think that we have to understand that change is inevitable. And
Mm.
sometimes if we dig our heels in, we miss an opportunity to make a positive change in the community by seeing what is needed to solve a problem. So I think that change is hard. It's difficult, but in the end, I think it's important to embrace.
Mhm.
That's what I have to say. Retirement was hard for me. I actually have not retired. I retired from the classroom, but I'm still with FCC. I'm having a hard time with it. But now I'm embracing the concepts of, you know, moving on from that, moving on and leaving that in the hands of some very capable people. But, change is inevitable and we have to see it as a possibility, as a new possibility.
Mhm. I love it. A new road. But I like that observation that students teach high schoolers particularly, they're headed to college and oh my gosh, you just threw them in the deep end. They don't know what to do with themselves and it's hard for them. So what can we do to support them?
Right.
Jenny, what are your thoughts?
Well, this is kind of tangential to the conversations that you've all had, but I keep thinking about teaching problem solving in a way that you bring ethical principles and ethical reasoning into it, because that helps you get out of yourself, because you have to think about the impact of different choices on other people. And I remember I taught this in every class. And I remembered I'd ask the students, I'd say, how do you decide what to do? And sometimes they would say, oh, my parents told me what's right and wrong. Well, life is more complex than that, and situations vary. And so, learning how to look at the details, look at the principles. Is this a case where rights are most important? Or is this a case where the greater good is more important? Or justice, and there are different forms of justice, different principles for deciding what's just or fair. And that kind of thinking, I think, does prompt people to change out of mindless habits of what they should do. So that's my 2 cents.
I love it, that critical thinking that we learn, hopefully throughout our lives to challenge what we think is real and not real. I love it. And we need to do that so that we can pivot and change and grow. So we've been talking about all of the things we're doing at FCS to celebrate FCS week and really exciting to have everybody join us and participate with us. I've shared what our themes are each day. But I'd like to hear from all of you because we encourage our affiliates to also join us in celebrating Family Consumer Sciences, FCS Week, Ellen's birthday. So maybe opening it up for everybody to share with us, what do you have planned during that week? Lois?
I'm not totally sure, but since I'm the communications person for our affiliate, we are promoting the days through social media and through emails and things like that. And I know that time is short, but I've been toying with the idea of maybe offering some sort of, you know, challenge to whoever can send in the best stories to the newsletter or something about what they did this week, and maybe giving them some sort of a gift card for, a small gift card. So I don't know. That's in the back of my mind here. It'll probably gel over the next day or two here, and I'll get something out about it. But we used to do dinners and things like that. And promote that, but now it seems like there's people that do different things in their own communities, and I'm not really sure off top what they are. So maybe if I put a little blurb out there about sending me your stories for the newsletter, we'll get a better idea what's going on. Maybe
Yeah, Cherry, also from Minnesota. Maybe you also know what the affiliate's doing on top of that, or is there something cool happening in your town? Maybe you're gonna put up a sign that says "Help us celebrate FCS." It could happen.
I have not heard, but we do have a website, or I mean, an FCS page on Facebook. So I was even thinking that just posting something each day about what the theme is for that day, and then seeing if we get any responses back. That might be a way to do it, Lois. Maybe you and I can talk later. Um, and I don't really have anything planned. I'm driving home to Minnesota on the 1st and 2nd. So, maybe I'll chit chat with the hotel clerk that checks me in about being Family Consumer Sciences Day. Um,
I love it. I love it. Well,
and
I
then
can't wait to see those stories. I really hope you get a bunch of them because it's a great idea.
And then the last thing that I'm going to do is at our church, we have what's called the Yola Bokla Flood event. And it's one of our gals in our church started doing this. And you put your name in and you get a name. And then on a certain Sunday, you give out a gift. Well, ours is December 7th. So that will end that week, kind of, or be the beginning of the next week. But I'm going to give away the home economics book. Oh, I can't think of the name of it right now. That just recently had come out.
Oh,
Actually, we studied it a couple years ago. Lois, do you remember the name of it? I'm drawing a blank, but I'm going to get that book and give it to my person.
I love that. I think I have that behind me, but I don't want to get up to go try to find it, but I know which book you're talking about.
No, yeah, I can't. I'm just blanking. Sorry.
Well, I'm sure everybody's looking forward to receiving that book. So Kathy, what do you have planned? What's Oklahoma doing?
Well, December has snuck up on me at least, but social media is usually my go-to. So I have looked at our website for resources and saw some things there, as well as the days of the week like we've gone through. And I like Cherry's idea of trying to get some feedback from people on different ideas. So I may throw that in there, but yeah, we'll see what I can do. I am going to reach out to our membership and encourage them to post things. We don't have a Facebook page for our association. So that might be something I can get done sometime next week and add that to our. So was the book called The Secret History of Home Economics?
Thank you. That's it.
Yep.
It is a good one. It's a nice read if anybody hasn't read it yet. I love it. Patricia, New Jersey, what are you guys thinking about working on? Oh, you are muted.
Sorry. We are working on an executive council meeting to regroup from, we had a big fall conference
Oh,
to get together and talk about what is, what we did right, what we need to do in the future, and set up our plans for the spring. We do have a big, initiative that we started that we have to see through for advocacy, that we have to see that through what we're doing. So we need to get together for that.
amazing. Yeah, advocacy is one of the big things we do to raise our visibility. So I'm so excited to hear more about that. And I hope that that conference was well attended. It's great to pull our professionals together. And I love that you brought in the learning our lessons and improving for the future, which is always helpful for all of us. And I know, Janine, you just finished the conference in partnership with Jenny, who had to depart, but I know Colorado and Wyoming partnered together, had a great conference earlier this year. Have you guys also talked about celebrating FCS week together?
I don't think we're going to celebrate together, but we did just finish up that conference. So we are looking at conference evaluations and, feedback that we've received and some stuff like that. And, sharing resources back out to people that attended. And I think we do have a Facebook page that I've been trying to continue to post on. So I think that's probably the route that Colorado is going to go, as well as trying to do a post each day of the week.
Wonderful. Oh, and I can't wait to see them. Everybody follow along. You've heard from all of the affiliates. Check out their social media and follow along. Also, if you're interested, there is a t-shirt contest. So if you go to the FCS week page on the AAFCS website, you're going to see instructions for designing a t-shirt and submitting your proposal, and you might get picked to be put on a t-shirt. So that'll be really, really exciting. If you don't know the link, just reach out to the AAFCS and we'll point you in the right direction. So I hope everybody checks that out. And to close out our conversation today, you are all amazing FCS professionals. You're part of our advocacy cohort. We're so thankful for you being here and sharing your insights with me and our listeners as we approach the holidays, a time for reflection, relaxation, family and friends. What advice or final thoughts would you like to give to our listeners? Lois?
I just spoke in the last week about thankfulness and how thankfulness can actually make people feel better if they can show gratitude, and it creates a sense of calm and peace, and that they're appreciating what they have. And I wish that everyone has that experience this week.
Thank you so much, Lois. Me too. I think all of us agree with you on that one. What are your thoughts, Cherry?
As when I was teaching, we used to call this time right before Thanksgiving through Christmas the holiday meltdown time. Because when we had kids at risk, it was really a hard time for them. It really was. And so, if anything, I would say reach out to somebody who you know might need a helping hand. That would be one of my things of advice. The other one would be don't sweat the small stuff, because as you know, it's supposed to be time for relaxation. It's like, who relaxes as they're trying to get ready for Christmas? I like that thought. So my advice would be don't sweat the small stuff. Just relax and let it go.
There you go. Yep. Just relax. Be calm. Kathy, final thoughts?
Well, I think just being able to pause, as others said, and appreciate the opportunities that I've been given to help support my community and the impact that I've made is something that we should all reflect on as FCS professionals, and just think about, we give and give and give, but think about those things and let it make an impact on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that came up during our wellness conversation. Be kind to yourself. So very important. Patricia, final thoughts?
Two things. Give yourself and others grace and be present.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I love it.
sometimes, like I know I'm worrying about the pies and the this and the that, and I'm really not enjoying the people around me. So I have to tell myself I have to be present. Those things don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So
They will still eat the pie, even if it's
that's
burned.
right.
I've
Even,
learned this.
even if it's a little loose, the
Yeah.
gushy, whatever.
Should add ice cream and whipped cream, right? No one will
Right.
notice.
That's right. They'll never know.
Janine, final thoughts?
Um, well, I just, consider myself fortunate that I will have plenty of food, family around, and I guess, and I think somebody else alluded to this, but how important it is to think about others that are not that fortunate and how we can reach out to them or think about them anyway and have them be in our thoughts also.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And a great way to end it, FCS people give back. We think about our communities, we think about the individuals around us. A lot of communities are having fundraisers for their food banks. They're doing the angel trees, as Lois suggested. There's a lot of ways we can contribute to our communities. So, get on those social medias. You'll see the different announcements from your different towns, but it's a great way to remember the people around us that might not have family to spend their holidays with. Um, and to learn more about FCS, please visit the AAFCS website. Visit our wonderful affiliates to learn more about all of the work we do in the family and consumer sciences. Everyone, thank you again for your insights, your stories. You are truly exceptional, and it's been wonderful engaging with you tonight during this podcast. For those listening in, the AAFCS is currently accepting applications for our 2026 class of cohort members. I hope all of our current affiliates reapply, and any active AAFCS affiliate can apply. We accept everybody as long as you follow the requirements and are an active affiliate with the AAFCS. Once accepted into the program, you can include as many of your members as you'd like in the cohort. It's a great opportunity for FCS professionals to gain advocacy experience, engage with all of these wonderful people you've met tonight, build your professional network. Please consider applying, and we hope that you'll be joining us in the new year as part of our Family and Consumer Sciences family. So thank you again, everyone, and have a great night. And there you have it. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Think FCS. Each month, we bring to you news, updates, and information on all things family and consumer sciences. Don't forget to click that like button and join us each month for a new episode. Are you thinking about pursuing a career in FCS? Reach out to the American Association for Family and Consumer Sciences and find your people today.